Hi everyone, welcome back to the Empty Pantry. I'm Amy, and I'm here to help you turn your tight budget into delicious meals. So you say someone's coming to dinner, someone you really want to impress, and you just don't know what to make? You don't have a ton of money. Well, today I'm going to share with you 3 dishes that I have made for years that have always impressed my guests. They're honestly not hard to make, and they don't cost that much.
First, I'll show you how to make a nice linguine with a clam sauce. Then we will make a caramelized onion and goat cheese flatbread, followed by a delicious and easy shrimp scampi recipe.
So if you're ready, go grab your apron and let's get cooking.
First, we're going to make some linguine with clam sauce. We're going to start by cooking our linguine, a big pot of boiling water, a little bit of salt, and I added 12 ounces of linguine to the pot. I'm just going to let that cook while I start on our sauce. So while that's going, we're going to start on the sauce in a separate pan. So starting with 3 tablespoons of butter, I'm just going to start melting that around. And my heat is on like a low medium because I don't want to burn the butter. When you're using real butter, you can scorch it and it actually changes the flavor of it. We don't want to do that in this recipe. So just let it slowly start to melt down before you add in your garlic. And we're going to add 2 cloves of garlic that I'm going to crush right into the pan. I'm going to continue to saute that until it just starts to get fragrant. I don't want it to brown, and I definitely don't want it to burn. That's going to make it bitter and not taste correct. So once the garlic is starting to smell fragrant, I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of flour, and I'm just going to kind of spread that around. I don't want to add clumps of it, so I'm just going to mix it around so it's nice and smooth. And once the flour is in, I'm going to add in my clams. So these are chopped clams. These cans are just over 6 ounces each. We don't want the minced clams. Those are way too small. We want the chopped clams. So you're not going to drain them. We're just going to pour those directly into the pan with the juice, both cans. Then we're going to let this cook down just on low. We're going to let it simmer. It's just going to have a really nice, mild boil to it before we add in our cream. So 1/2 cup of cream. You can also use 1/2 and 1/2. You can use milk if you want. It's just not going to be quite as thick. And then we're going to add in 1/4 cup of fresh chopped parsley. So put that right in the pan. We're just going to stir that in. So that is our sauce, basically. We just want to get it nice and mixed up. And we're just continuing to cook this on a really low setting because we have that butter in there. We have the garlic. All of these things can scorch. So we're just going to be gentle with this on a low heat and stir it occasionally. We want to make sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. And it's just going to start to thicken up just a little bit as it starts to get warm. We're going to give it a little taste, and then we're going to add the salt and pepper. Make sure you taste it because those clams are a little bit salty and you don't want to over salt it. That will just completely ruin it. So taste it and then add in your salt and pepper. And that is our sauce. So we're done with our sauce. By now our pasta should be done. So give that a little taste. It's okay if it's a little bit al dente. You don't want it to be mushy. Add the pasta right to the saucepan. We're going to toss it in this pan. If you want a little bit more cooking on your pasta, this is a good opportunity to do that. Just keep it on low and some of that sauce will be absorbed into the pasta. So just give it a gentle toss and turn off the heat. And you'll want to serve this right away. Top it with some fresh Parmesan or some Romano, and then a little bit of fresh parsley if you want it to be extra fancy. So there is our linguine and clam sauce. Now let's make that flatbread. So this is a caramelized onion and goat cheese balsamic flatbread. It makes a great main dish. It also makes a great appetizer. So we're going to start with onions, and basically it's 1 large onion per like plate size flatbread. We're going to start by cutting it very, very thin, as thin as you can with a knife. If you have a mandolin, this is a great use for that. But here I'm just showing you how to cut it with a knife. So very, very thin. Cut all of the onions up. You'll need all of them sliced very, very thin. Next, we're going to put them in the pan. We're going to get them caramelized. So in a large fry pan, we're going to add some butter, about 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to get that melted, and then we're going to add our onions in. Since we're putting all those onions in at one time, it is a good idea to have a larger fry pan. You want room for them to be touching the bottom so that they can get caramelized. So adding all of our onions into the pan with the butter, I have it on a medium heat. You can see that the butter was quite warm. This takes a little bit of time, so be patient. As they get caramelized, you're going to want to pay attention that it's not sticking to the bottom, and they're just going to continue. They're going to get a light brown, a dark brown, and then they're going to really get a nice, rich, caramely color. Now that that's done, we're going to move on to our flatbreads. So on a dry cookie sheet, I'm going to add my 2 flatbreads. These are the size of maybe 10 inches around-ish, enough for one person for a main course. I'll lay those directly on the cookie sheet. And then on top of that, I'm going to put my onions. Now that they have like a little bit of like a liquid, they're very soft. So you don't have to worry about like a quote unquote pizza sauce for this. The onions take care of that. So distributing the onions over the flatbread, we're just going to make it as even as possible. And then we're going to spread that out and use up all of your onions. Once that is done, we're just going to sprinkle it with some goat cheese. So I'm using 4 ounces of goat cheese crumbles for my 2 pizzas, and I used all of the goat cheese. Once the goat cheese is on there and it's kind of distributed evenly, I'm going to take some balsamic glaze. This is something I just had in the fridge. It doesn't take very much, but it does come already prepared. It's like a thicker, kind of sweeter glaze. I use it on Brussels sprouts a lot, which is really, really good. And just to make it fancy, I'm going to do kind of a crisscross pattern across it. You don't want this covered. You just want a little bit of drizzle. It has a lot of flavor, so just a little drizzle goes a long way. Now that we have all of our ingredients on there, we're going to throw that in the oven. Just look at your flatbread recipe. It's usually a hot, short amount of time. So like 400 degrees for like 3 to 5 minutes. And once it's done, you'll want to serve it right away. As it is very thin, it will get cold fast. So there we have our caramelized onion and goat cheese flatbread. Last, we're going to make some shrimp scampi. So the pasta for the shrimp scampi is going to be some angel hair pasta. That's 6 ounces of angel hair pasta. Angel hair cooks very fast, so you want to make sure that all of your other ingredients are ready to go before you put that pasta in there. Moving over to a fry pan while that pasta cooks, I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to get that melted. And then 3 cloves of garlic that I'm just going to crush right into the pan. To the butter and the garlic, I'm going to add 1/2 pound of shrimp. This has been peeled and deveined. It's headless. You can leave the shells on and the tails. It presents a little bit nicer, but that does mean that people have to go and pick that off in their food. So I just remove it, the shells and the tails ahead of time. I think it's easier to eat that way. So once the shrimp is cooked, it cooks very, very fast. The whole dish cooks very, very fast. We're going to want to remove the shrimp from the pan because we don't want it to get overcooked. When shrimp is overcooked, it's very chewy and rubbery. And it's why a lot of people don't like shrimp, is because people have overcooked it when they've eaten it. And so they think that's how it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be. It should be a little bit soft. So once it is cooked, we're going to remove it from the pan. I'm just going to put it in a bowl near the stove so it does stay a little bit warm because we're going to add it back at the very end. Now, my pan is still very, very warm. I'm going to add 1 cup of white dry wine. You can also use cooking wine. It will change how much salt you're going to want to add. And then I'm going to take the juice of 1/2 of a lemon and squeeze that into there. Now we're going to want to let this just kind of simmer on low, and it's going to, if you did use real wine, it's going to evaporate the alcohol. It's going to thicken just a little bit, not a lot, just a little tiny bit. And we're going to add our pasta directly to this pan. Notice my shrimp is still on the side. We don't need that cooking anymore. So I'm going to add my pasta to my sauce directly in the pan. Now that all of my pasta is in the pan, I'm going to throw in some fresh parsley. This is about a quarter cup of fresh parsley that's been chopped very fine. You can use dry parsley if that's what you have. It's going to be about 2 tablespoons. It doesn't add a ton of flavor. It's mostly for the color. Because it's a pasta dish with shrimp, it's very bland. This adds just a little bit of color. It makes it look a little bit prettier. So I'm going to mix the pasta with the sauce and the parsley, and then I'm going to add my shrimp back in. And then just look at it. I decided to add 2 more tablespoons of butter, just a little bit more fat to it to make it extra creamy. So 2 more tablespoons of butter, and then I'm just melting that down. The pan's very hot, so it melts fairly quickly. And once that's in, we just need to test for salt and pepper. Just make sure that it's properly salted and peppered, so taste it. And then once it's done, you're ready to serve it up. This is a great dish served with some garlic bread, a little bit of salad. It's always very impressive. There we have our shrimp scampi.
See, what did I tell you? These recipes aren't hard and they weren't expensive. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more recipes I'd love to share with you. Until next time, happy cooking. Bye.